Hi, Sergio. Thank you so much for
Hi.
coming over today.
Thank you for having me. The house is gorgeous.
Oh, thanks. I really love doing the podcast here because I don't know, it feels more comfortable and cozy just to be at home. And I'm so grateful that you can be my LA neighbor and come over.
Yes.
Okay, so we're on the Friends and Family podcast today, and a lot of people that are listening are entrepreneurs or thinking about becoming entrepreneurs or are fascinated by entrepreneurs or just want to get to know you or me a little bit better. And Met Gala, 2 weeks, no idea what I'm wearing, but I heard that you're dressing 13 people. Is that true?
I'm crazy.
No, that's why I was like, hold on, 13 people for the Met Gala? Like,
It
that's nuts.
it is, but it was not intentional. It just kind of happened because
Uh-huh.
some of them are grouped together.
Okay.
Mind you, it's
Like
14
the
because
Spice
of
Girls.
me.
Uh-huh.
I have no clue what I'm wearing
Uh-huh.
at all. Like,
Designers aren't really supposed to know. I mean, it's like if you're really focused on what you're wearing, then you're not really doing
yeah,
the
I'm like, and
assignment.
everybody keeps asking me, and I'm just like, I got 13 people to dress. Like,
Is that like a great moment for you? Is it scary?
I
Like,
think
how does
it's
it feel?
all of that.
Yeah.
All of that is very, very much a definitive moment. I feel like for me personally, not
Not as a
anything,
brand.
not as a brand, not as like, oh, the industry is gonna see this. It's
Right.
for me what I can take from my history
Mm-hmm.
and what I can give back
Mm-hmm.
to it in this way. Like how
Because
do
of
I?
the theme?
Because of the theme.
Okay. Tell everyone again what the theme is.
So the theme of the Met is the Black Dandy, and the theme of the carpet, which is this I've been explaining to people all the time. The theme
Uh-huh.
of the carpet is tailored for you,
Uh-huh.
so you don't have to dress up like a black dandy.
Oh, you've
And
been explaining this to people?
I've been explaining
White
it.
people?
Yes, I'm like, please
I
stop.
can't wait.
Because the
People are like, I'm scared for the Met. I'm like, it's going to be great.
it's gonna be entertaining.
For
I
me,
will
for
say.
you in the comments.
It's going to be entertaining. And I think nobody's reading the book. That's what's crazy to me.
No,
Like,
no, no. Jamie Soros read the book.
I know.
She's the only person that I know that read the book beginning to end. She's on the board of the Met, though.
Exactly.
And she's very well read and she understands art and she really loves fashion and she's all the things in that regard. So, she's a student number one of this. But
And
like I didn't read the book. I didn't, but
well, I
I
had to read
chat
it.
GPT'd the book.
Yeah,
No, I didn't do that.
I had to read the book. Just because like I had never even heard the term. So
What? Oh, Black Dandy?
yeah, like I knew what dandy was,
Uh-huh.
from history of costume.
Yeah.
But to see the depth of it and how we, and it's like you realize, oh wow, like this is how we present ourselves to the world, and this is
Mhm.
how people fought racism through
Mhm.
the way they dressed,
Yes.
and throughout history. And I think if people read the book, it would be much easier for them
No, no, absolutely. I mean, I
because it's
think
not just everybody's looking at like they're going to be dressed like Napoleon, and it's like it's through history. It's
Yeah,
like it
yeah.
starts there, but it goes all the way up to like Dapper
Right.
Dan.
Right,
Like
right, right,
these
right.
are so it's like
Yes.
so vast and
Yes.
broad. I'm hoping it'll be a teachable moment and not a joke.
I think it just depends on how curious people are and if they want to learn. I think the problem also with the Costume Institute exhibit sometimes is people are just they so much of it is defined for people based on the looks on the Met Gala carpet
Yeah,
that there's not that much curiosity about the exhibit. And I think first of all, when I heard that they were planning this one a couple years ago, I actually didn't believe it. Because
who
someone that
would?
wasn't even in fashion told me, Ike Ude, do you know who that is?
Hmm.
Told me he shot my portrait for something, and I was like, oh, like he must be mistaken. And but then when I found out that they were planning it and how they had been thinking about it, it made sense to me. And I have walked through some of the exhibit. I think it looks good. I mean, there's so many, for me, when I think about what it means, and even when I think about, really defining period of time for me with my stepfather when I was younger, like I noticed that he always felt like he had to dress up, and that a lot of his value was connected to how he dressed
Mm-hmm.
himself, right? And I think the way in which Black people have used clothing and costume to symbolize different things and also take them out of situations, help them feel more comfortable in situations is definitely like worth talking about. I have some issue with like what feels to me like a little bit of erasure of Black women
Absolutely.
in this, right? Because when I think of like if you say to me Black dandy, the first person I think of actually is Micheline
Yeah.
Thomas. So, you know, that part of it. And then also to me, I'm like, well, how many of these figures throughout history actually were women? Like there's all these things, but
Yeah.
I think that feedback has probably been received. And so I'm really excited to see, you know, how the exhibit, because I feel like usually at the Met, it's like me and three other people at the gala actually walking the exhibit, but it's my favorite thing
Oh
to do.
God, I love it. Like, it's just like I think I didn't go last year.
Mm-hmm.
The last one I went to was the Karl Lagerfeld one.
Oh yeah,
It was beautiful,
I loved
but
that.
they
I
rushed
loved
us through, and I was, when you
right.
don't get there
Yeah,
early,
when you get there is all makes all the difference.
yeah. But I want to see it, so I was like, I told Kiki, I was like, why do we have to arrive so late? We can't really
Oh
look at
yeah,
the
if you're with
exhibit.
Kiki Palmer, that you know, because people don't realize your arrival time sometimes depends on either how famous you are or how famous your guest is.
Yes, it was definitely my guess.
So, right. So then you go late and then you don't get
Yeah,
to
they
see
like
it.
some people like they just close it and he like go to dinner,
Right. Yeah.
which is
Yes,
terrible.
I know that sucks. But then you can come back better.
Yeah.
And there's something that I realized when you were coming over today, which is I know you're from the South, but that's kind of all I know. I know you're from the South. I know you have kids. I know you live in LA now. But connect the dots for me.
So I was born in Columbia, South Carolina.
Okay, South Carolina. I
Yes.
know nothing about this state.
So South Carolina was the first state to secede from the Union in the
Okay.
Civil War. So
Did it feel that way?
it absolutely did. It was
Okay.
just very for lack of a better term, segregated.
Yes.
Like black people live here, white people live here.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Did you live with the black people or the white people?
absolutely the black people.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different there. I grew up in a town called Ridgeway, South Carolina, which is a very country town. My grandfather was a farmer,
Mm.
so I never ate like grocery store produce until I was like 20
Mm.
when he passed away.
Mm.
So I lived a very like, you know, I would say sheltered life. My mom is from Charleston, South Carolina,
Oh
which is
wow.
like a great metropolis in the South. You know, they always
Yes.
have those like blue islands. That's like the blue
Mm-hmm.
island in
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina. And so
Charleston has like a fashion week.
yes,
I've
like
been there. Yes.
Charleston is like, you know, the city, like it's different than
It's
South Carolina.
different. Mm-hmm.
So my mom is very cultured and, you know, very Southern Belle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I really want to see a picture of your mom.
Well, I'll show you one.
Great.
She's definitely a diva.
Mm-hmm.
She is the reason I am who I am,
Mm-hmm.
to be completely honest. Every designer says that, but like it's for real for me. Like
Right.
she is the chicest woman I know.
Right.
So I was
And was
raised
it
there.
like Sunday going to church? Was it
Yes.
every day?
It was my mom was chic every day.
Uh-huh.
But on Sunday it was like it's time to show out.
Okay.
That was like, you know, we work in fashion and entertainment, so like the red carpet moment,
Yeah,
it was that was it.
church.
And like prep for weeks.
For your church look.
Yeah, like it would be like, and it wasn't a particular Sunday. It was just like, okay, I found this outfit. Okay, I'm gonna find these shoes, and I'm gonna prep. This is how I'm gonna do my hair. This, you know how you
But
do.
where did you find the outfit? It wasn't like
I mean, my mom wore designer clothes.
okay.
She made clothes.
Okay, wow.
Like, I grew up. My mom was from Charleston, but we grew up in this little town because my mom's mom married a man from that town.
Okay.
And that's how she met my dad. So, you know, you talking ordering, calling Neiman Marcus.
Okay, so she was fancy.
Yeah, like but we weren't rich at all. Like I'm talking saving paychecks to
Uh-huh.
buy, and then you got to think like a
So
pair
the
of
whole paycheck was going to the Manilas.
absolutely, and then you got to think about in 1992, a pair of Manolo bonds were like
$400, yeah.
$200,
Uh-huh.
285. I
But the
remember.
paycheck was also like $385 in 1992.
Yeah.
So
It was
contextually,
a couple weeks you
inflation,
save up
tariffs,
for.
all that jazz, it's like
Hmm.
it's still the whole paycheck.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
But were you like, okay, mom's blowing the paycheck on the Manolos, and the Manolos come home and you're like, wow, that was
yes,
totally worth
absolutely.
it. You weren't like,
Oh no,
this bitch. Okay.
absolutely not. No, I
Were you an only child?
no.
Were your other siblings okay with this?
They didn't know.
Okay. You were let
Nobody
in on the
realized.
secret.
Nobody did. It was just normal. Like my mom
Uh-huh.
didn't discuss what she did.
Right.
So it was just like that's just how she dressed.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think people in the town knew either. It was just how she dressed. And it was very normal to me
Yes.
to, read Vogue magazine, to read Essence, to, like all these different my sister was a model too.
Okay.
So it was kind of just like it was the culture of our home for sure.
Okay, whoa. So there's a lot to unpack here. When did your sister start modeling? And
She
is
was
she older or younger?
She's older. My oldest is she's 8 years older than me.
Okay.
So she started when she was 14.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and she started locally,
Uh-huh.
and then she got signed, and she was like modeling in the southeast,
Mm-hmm.
and it became a lot. She was about to move to New York, and then something happened with her agency, and it never happened.
Mm-hmm.
But that was her big dream. She was like this, how you have the child in the family that's like the star of the family. That
Uh-huh.
was her at the time, and she it just kind of never happened.
Okay, has she walked in your show?
No, because she's like
No.
older now, and
Do you think
she
she
never
feels a way about that?
no,
Hmm.
because she gave it up when she was like 18,
Okay.
and she kind of started having kids,
Okay.
and moved on, and it kind of shifted to me in the
Mm.
family.
Mm.
Like that's when she was 14, 16, I was like 8, so they started noticing, okay, this little boy is like drawing clothes all the time. And like I was telling my mom, you wearing the mustard suit, maybe you should wear the purple shoes. They look good together.
Mm.
And she would just kind of try it and be like, wow, I never realized that would work together. At very young age, I was doing that. I was watching CNN style with Elsa Clinch at like 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of, I never considered another job.
Did you always know you'd be a designer?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're never like, oh, I want to be a stylist. I want to be anything else. Only
No.
designer.
Only designer. I will never forget. There are two things that kind of leaned me in that direction. The first thing was CNN style with Elsa Clinch, and I saw Terry Mugler, Gianni Versace, Gianfranco Ferre, and Azadine Alaya. Those are like my benchmarks, along with Patrick Kelly.
Wow, this is a very specific group of people that I want to come back to because all of those people slightly sit outside of the norms in their own ways.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
And those were like my patron saints. That's what I call them. And I saw what they did, and I saw what it did for women and what it did for people, and I related it to, oh, this is what my mom is doing. And it was like, I want to be that person that does that for women. So at like 5 years old, I was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a designer. The second thing that happened, 1992 happened.
Uh-huh.
And I'm saying 1992 because I've kind of, in just the past like 6 months of my life,
Yes.
and through therapy,
Uh-huh.
I realized that was the most pivotal year of my life.
Oh, wow.
In 1992, Batman Returns came out.
That was not what I was expecting you to say here.
No, because I love comic books and I love
Okay.
that. And people don't realize that. But I was watching Entertainment Tonight, and the costume designer was on there, and he was sketching the costume that Michelle Pfeiffer wore as Catwoman. And that's when I realized, oh, designers draw their clothes, and that's how you make them. So that's when I started sketching from that inspiration. In 1992, 3 or 4 things. Batman Returns came out. I saw the costume designer from that movie drawing Michelle Pfeiffer. Funky Divas by In Vogue came out,
Mm-hmm.
which was like one of the, like, I saw the Never You're Never Gonna Get It video, and I had never
Oh,
connected
never gonna
fashion
get it,
to
never
music
gonna get it. That one.
before then. And they kind of were inspired by the supermodels, and so like the
Yes.
way they styled them was just so glamorous, and the music was so good. Gianni Versace put out his Bondage collection.
Oh, it's a very good one. That is one that I can tell like you love.
Yeah. So like those things kind of changed my life. And then the last thing was the movie Boomerang came out.
What's that one again?
It's an Eddie Murphy movie where
Okay.
like it's what at the time the white media called it an alternate universe. But in the movie there are no white leads.
Okay.
In the movie they run this huge cosmetics business that was started by Lady Eloise, whose character is Eartha Kitt playing this character, and it's the marketing department of this company. It's nothing but black people working there, and they do a merger with
Mm-hmm.
this Parisian company. Robin Givens comes in, and she's
Well,
running.
this is fascinating. I feel like I
Yes, it's
need to
like one of the
watch
best movies
Boomerang
ever made.
tonight.
It's one of the best movies ever made. Robin Givens comes in and she takes over the marketing department from Eddie Murphy's
Okay.
character, who thought he was going to get it. But she came
Whoa.
in, took the job. She's the most glamorous, beautiful woman you ever want to see. Like big hair, Armani, Azzedine Elias suits, and all
Your
this.
eyes are closed as you're
It's
explaining.
just the most beautiful movie ever made. And what I loved about it as a child, like to see a woman in that role, like she was a boss. I had
Mm-hmm.
never seen a black woman or a whole movie where all these black people were just so successful, and not one time in the movie did they discuss being black. They
Mm.
just were.
Mm.
And at that moment, it opened my mind to believing that, oh, we just can be like, we don't have
Mm-hmm.
to be like,
Black
she
and.
wasn't a black marketing director. She was the marketing director for
Mm-hmm.
this company.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it kind of changed my whole life, to be honest.
Mm.
I reference that movie in every collection that I do.
Is there like a quote from that movie that stands out to you?
No, it's just the whole movie. I mean, I can probably quote the entire movie, but
Like if you watch it, you know everything that they're gonna say.
everything, like from top to bottom. I mean, Grace Jones was in the movie. It's just like a great cinematic masterpiece.
So 1989 to 1995, I have a complete gap in pop culture because that's when I lived in Jamaica.
Mm.
And so the only thing that they really played on TV there during that time was The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh wow.
And I legitimately thought, well, there was this whole thing that happened where the first day I got to school, there was a picture of Will Smith on the wall, like a small one framed. And
Wow.
I know. And this was like grade 1 or grade 2 or something. And I said to the girl sitting next to me, because he was really cute, I was like, who is that? And she said, it's the Fresh Prince. So I believed for years that Will Smith was the Prince of Jamaica.
Oh my God.
And
That's
I was like
hilarious.
living in my own, where I was like, oh my God, like I'm going to be the princess. I want to marry the Prince of Jamaica. And then one day, like, we got cable and I saw him on TV and I was like, whoa, he's also an actor. And then, the 90s were also really defining for me, and I've been in therapy as well because of that, but it was a slightly different experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me how life has changed since then. Like, and what I really want to know from you is, like, what's the same as Boomerang and what's dramatically different, and what has broken your heart and what has made things feel more alive and more beautiful than you ever could have dreamed as that kid?
I think me and throughout my childhood up into, teen, going to college, everything, I believed that movie. Like, I'm good at what I do. I work hard and I can be
Mm-hmm.
what I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Until I think it was a huge stop for me was when I moved to Los Angeles,
Yes. Which year?
2016.
Okay.
This is a big fast forward.
Uh-huh.
But I moved to Los Angeles and I went to my first boutique appointment, buying appointment. When I bring in my clothes,
And where had you made the clothes?
I had made the clothes in my
Like,
mom's extra room in South Carolina
okay,
before I moved to.
yourself. You'd sewn them yourself.
I was still making all my own samples at that time, but prior to that, I had already been like dressing celebrities and
How?
um. Long story short, I kind of figured out a back door into the industry that if you kind of offered celebrities clothes, they would wear them.
Right. If you
And if
gave
they were
people things
good,
for free, they would
yeah,
take it.
I learned it very early. And I realized that if you went to LA and you were ready to wear designer, you were like prized because there were not any here.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody makes costumes here.
Mm-hmm.
So I was making suits and dresses and blouses and
Mm-hmm.
things that they would need
Mm-hmm.
that they couldn't get from New York in time. So I would like be here or I
Mm.
would send stuff here and it would just be
Mm.
available.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got all my early placements. So I had already been doing that. I had a little, traction. So that's how I got this appointment with this very famous store here.
There's
And
only like two, so I'm just gonna use my imagination.
yes, use it.
Uh-huh.
And
There's literally two. Okay,
it's
uh-huh.
so I went to the store appointment with the buyer, which I found out wasn't normal. I didn't know it wasn't normal.
Mm-hmm.
And she looked at my stuff and she was like, "This stuff is really beautiful." And she said to me, "We buy stuff like this in Paris.
Mm.
Your stuff should be more urban."
Mm.
And when she said that to me, I was like, "Did she say what I just think she said?" And I was like, well, I couldn't even like process it fully because in that moment, I mean, I'm raised in the South, so I know that means your clothes don't look like something that a black person would bring in my store,
Right.
and I want your clothes to be more black because you're black, and you
Mm-hmm.
need to not want to make this kind of stuff because you're not.
Right, and you have no right
Yeah, and
to
I
make this sort of thing. You should
yeah.
only make what you know, and there's no way that you could know this.
hmm
Yeah.
hmm
How did that feel?
It was deflating, and when you have lived in this dream where I'm living in Boomerang all my
Mm-hmm.
life, and in that moment, that was all taken away from me.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the biggest wake up call I ever had.
Because how long did you prep for that meeting?
Oh God, I would say I prepped my entire life,
Mm-hmm.
but physically, a few months. Yeah,
Yeah.
and to I just every when you're young and you're getting your first opportunity, you think, oh, this is my John Galliano moment. Like I'm
Right.
going in Browns and I'm going to sell my first collection because they're going to be so amazed. And when that didn't happen, it was, devastating for sure. Absolutely. But it taught me a tough lesson very early. If you want to work in fashion or probably any business, but I'm exclusive to fashion. So,
Oh, are you? Well,
yes.
okay, okay.
If you want to work in any business, you have to know these are the obstacles that are ahead of you. And
I think that a lot of people don't really know about the obstacles, or a lot of people like hit the roadblock and then are like, "Oh, it's a sign. I probably shouldn't be doing this,"
hmm
But I mean, my very first meeting that I ever had at Vogue with the first collection of Ellie's that I had, the editor told me, actually, it was an email exchange. She wrote back. I sent her everything. I was like literally writing her from South Africa. And she writes back, "Are these for men or women?" And I said, "Well, actually, they're gender neutral. Historically, both men and women have worn these shoes." And she writes back, "These shoes are for men, period. Let me introduce you to someone at Fader."
mm.
You know? So, I mean, it's like people are
Defining you.
right. And it's like, okay, great. Like, not only did you define me and tell me what I was doing was not valuable within the context of women, you've also defined women, you've defined men, you've sent me to the fader because I'm black, so therefore it's urban. Like, I just don't even understand
hmm
that.
Yeah.
But that was a black editor.
Yeah. I mean,
As you said earlier, it can be your own folks.
absolutely. Because we've been taught that we fit in these compartments. And when you excel in those compartments, sometimes you become the worst contributor to that type of behavior. I think me being in LA is the reason I am who I am, for sure. If I went to New York, I don't know if I would have broken through.
When you say who I am, you mean like successful?
Yes, absolutely.
You think if you were in New York, maybe not.
I don't know. I mean, I'm very tenacious and I
Yeah.
work very, very hard, but I don't know if I would have had the moments that I've had I been in New York, because I wouldn't have the relationships that I have, with stylists, with.
So, do you think you would have gone through a more traditional path,
I
or
think so, but to be honest, Aurora, I feel like
yes, be honest.
I still struggle with New York.
Mm-hmm. Tell me more.
I feel New York fashion is very cliquish,
Mm-hmm.
and it has the same spirit as that first meeting I had.
Hmm.
And when I say that,
Like racism or
I wouldn't call
lack of curiosity?
lack of knowledge when it comes to black people, because I'm a middle class guy from Ridgeway, South Carolina, with a mother who grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, who is very cultured, went to private school. Her father came from a wealthy family. I was raised very normal. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like, we had a home, a 4-bedroom home. We went on vacation twice a year. We
Mm-hmm.
weren't rich by any means, but we lived a great life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just think a lot of people feel like all black people grow up the same.
Mm.
And it's very interesting to me. Like when I walked in that meeting, she assumed that I should be making urban clothes. And I feel like it's the same thing in New York. It's like if you're black, there are like 4 or 5 categories you have to fall in as a designer.
Okay, tell me.
I think the first category is, of course, luxury streetwear.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the first number one.
So, like Virgil.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
that's number one for us.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is you have to be like really creative and really colorful, or like really, artsy and,
So, Christopher John Rogers.
yes,
Okay.
I wasn't thinking him, but yeah.
You weren't? There was another person? Okay, go
No,
on.
I
Go
wasn't
on.
thinking
Yeah, yeah.
anybody, but I was just thinking,
Okay, okay.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
or you have to be really sexy with an urban
That's
flair.
me.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
joking. Go on.
Really sexy with the urban flair.
Who's that?
like
Laquan Smith?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
Uh-huh.
you have to be some sort of, either you're from the Caribbean, you're from Africa,
Mm-hmm.
you use fabrics from Africa or the Caribbean, or techniques from Africa or the Caribbean,
Mm.
and you are most likely a woman.
So you're talking about me and like Grace
And Rachel.
and Rachel.
Like, so you fall in those categories,
Uh-huh.
or you fall out. You can't be someone who falls in the category with a Ralph Lauren or a Michael Kors, or anybody that like is classic American sportswear. You get
Can't
called.
be Emily Bodie.
No, you have to be one of those things. And I've personally faced buyers coming into my meeting and telling me, you should be more creative. Like, mind you, all my customers are like CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and like they wear suits all the time, and I dress first ladies and all these people, but I should be making edgy clothes because I'm black. And they don't realize this. I'm not saying it's a forward thinking thing, but they compartmentalize who I am as a designer, and they call it uncreative. They call it whatever they want to call it. Or somebody told me, I don't think they see you as fashion, but they see Tom Ford as fashion. They see Michael Kors as fashion. They see Ralph Lauren as fashion. They beg him to do Fashion Week every Fashion Week, even though he don't want to do it. So it's like we need this type of fashion, but we don't want it from you. That's how I feel
Mhm.
personally.
Mhm.
I still, do my thing, but I definitely feel like that's a unspoken thing that people in fashion do. And I'm like, I'm a business person. I want to
Mhm.
make clothes that women want to wear.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I would say about New York is like they have strong aesthetic preferences,
Hmm.
for sure. And it's like it's either the row or it's not the row, right?
Hmm.
And like the thing that I noticed about LA, especially when I was younger, when I first lived in LA before I moved to New York, I used to work at this nonprofit arts organization called Gen Art, and we used to sponsor a bunch of different designer activations. And like the designers who were based in LA were always like rich and like relatively unknown because they were commercially focused, but had really all broed down with like the celebrity stylists and were doing like the LA based trade shows and selling to like stores that I had never heard of. Not because they weren't successful stores, but because I was Canadian. So like I didn't really know what Neiman's was at the time. And then in New York, they all like had a lot of awards under their belts, but they were all broke.
Yeah.
Right. That was very much like the delineation.
Pretty much.
Right.
It's what it is.
Right. And I think like the interesting thing about that is like no matter what, it just seems like the grass is always greener. And I think like being at the CFDA now and talking to so many different designers all the time because I wouldn't necessarily say I'm friends with everybody, but I definitely talk to a lot of different designers all the
Mhm.
time. And it's like, everyone always like, I love Tory Burch, right? Like, there are definitely things about Tory Burch's business that I would love for me,
Mhm.
right? I would love to be in every single woman's closet in America, basically.
Mhm.
I would love to have a gigantic house in the Hamptons. I would love all of these things for me, God, if you're listening. But also, like Tori's never won a CFDA award. So do we care?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't.
Have you ever cared?
No, I would lie.
Because it takes a long time to.
I think now I've grown to that, but as a child, absolutely. It was like when I wanted to be a designer since I was 5.
Right.
So, like, you look at, I remember when Ralph Lauren got his Lifetime Achievement Award and Audrey Hepburn gave it to him.
Mm.
Like, I remember that, and I was like, oh my God, I want that to happen for me one day.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Diane Carroll can give me mine. And
Ooh,
that's
that's who you
what,
would choose.
yes,
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. Okay.
absolutely.
No, that's fascinating.
And these were things I thought as a child. So absolutely, but I think as you mature and you grow through the industry and you see certain things, you realize maybe that's not as valuable as I thought it was. That's how I feel about it at this point in my life. Would I still love those accolades? Absolutely. But I want a successful business more than anything. And the biggest reason I want that is so I can change how people view us in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see a young designer or one of these guys that I'm mentoring, and I can say, okay, here, I need you to take this $100,000
Mm-hmm.
and do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I can mentor them, really mentor them, and tell them what to do from my mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I know I could do that if I really, had the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the only way I see to be able to do that is to become more successful.
Like
That's
more rich,
yeah,
you mean?
that's my goal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not for the fame or the fortune. It's to
Mm-hmm.
help because I just want in like 50 years, I don't want us to be singing the same tune.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's up to us to, you know, help that go along. That's why I love so much what you're trying to do because it's like, okay, let's change something. Like, let's not just sit around and complain about it all the time. You have
Yeah.
to be in these rooms. You have to know what's going on. That's if you don't, how can you figure out what's wrong and how to change it? So,
Yeah, but some people are like, people will be critical of me and they'll be like, "Well, I can't believe that you're like in bed with, fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I think to me it's like, okay, it's very hard to like win a grant, right? It's like also exceptionally hard to fundraise for a grant.
Yeah.
And I am going to take money from a lot of different people if it means that I then get to give that money to other people that look like me,
Yeah.
you know? And it's like, yeah, like would I love to be spending my time doing something else, namely sleeping or like working on my brand or something? Of course. But I also just think like that's what you have to, you know, leverage your privilege on once you get a little bit of privilege,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
You know, it was a while ago. I couldn't say, not too long ago, I couldn't say I was successful.
Oh,
I
really?
didn't feel successful.
Why?
Um, I
Because
don't
there were
know.
things that you were seeing other people have on Instagram that you didn't have?
No, it was just I didn't feel it because it wasn't how I envisioned it.
Oh,
So it wasn't success to me. And I personally was very hard on myself. I kept moving the benchmark. Like
mm,
these are things that my therapist said to me that I didn't realize I was doing. And she like went on my Instagram,
she
not
did?
my Instagram, my Facebook, and like went back and brought a post to my attention that it was like when I was like early 20s, and it said I had a picture of Bergdorf Goodman on my
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, and it said, "When I make it here, this is how I will know I made it." And I had been
Mm,
in Bergdorf for 3, 4 years at this point, and I was sitting in my office, in her office, just crying about how I'm tired of this and tired of that. And she was like, "You have to take your wins when you have them, whether they look like how you thought they were going to look or not." Of course, when I was in my 20s, and I'm thinking, if you're in Bergdorf Goodman, you're successful, you're
right.
financially stable, you have nothing to worry about. And that's just not the truth. But
Mm-mm.
to be in a store like that is a feat
Oh, absolutely.
of amazement. So whether you stay in there or not, but just to get through those doors,
Mm-hmm.
it's a big deal. So I had to learn how to force myself to say, you are successful. You are doing things that people only dream about doing. Whether they feel like that or not, it's the truth. And because you're doing this, somebody else is going to want to do this.
Or someone else is going to feel like they have the ability to do it,
Absolutely. Hmm.
right? Like before you were in Bergdorf Goodman, who looked like you that was in Bergdorf Goodman?
Not a lot of people at all.
Right.
So, I just think it's important that we acknowledge our accomplishments, whether they feel like accomplishments or not. Truly,
It's
so
hard though.
very hard. It's hard to, you know, reach an accomplishment or a goal. And I always say, I went to college in Atlanta. I said Atlanta is the city of fame and no fortune.
Hmm.
And I'm just not about the fame without the fortune. I much rather
So
have
you
the
want to be
fortune.
rich.
Yes, because I'm just a helper in general. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's what gives me joy to be able to help people. I'm literally on the phone at least 20 hours a week helping, giving advice, like telling people what to do and what not to do. And that's what gives me joy. Like,
Mm.
I don't know, it's just at this part of my life, I find much more joy in seeing other people succeed.
Mm.
Um, and seeing, especially people that look like me, walk into their full humanity,
Mm.
because we are so marginalized and put in boxes as black people. And I just love when black people are viewed as people first
Mm-hmm.
that just happen to be black. And that's, my biggest goal is to normalize people like me in this industry, and to not, because like when I was saying you fall in one of those categories, we are all of those things. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's great. You know what I mean? Like, what Chris does, what Laquan does, what you do, what Rachel does, what Virgil did, what everybody does is amazing and it's all a part of us, but that's not it. And it's not it for y'all. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you started doing the home stuff and like I was just like, oh my God, like that's so amazing because
Mm-hmm.
it's like you're not just the girl who made the shoes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's more than that. And to see that and to see it come full circle for somebody is amazing to me. And that's what I want more of. I don't want, I was just with I think we saw each other at Fashion
Mm-hmm.
Trust,
Mm-hmm.
and I was telling Rachel outside. I said, "I'm so proud of you because she's continuously trying her best to do whatever." Somebody said, "Like, well, she just won this, she just won that," and I said, "You think that money did anything?" I said, "She need more.
Right.
Like, she need
Yeah.
more than what she got that night." Like,
Right.
I know the invoices are coming in.
Yeah.
So, and I think what
Also,
we
as soon as you win anything, the invoice is like all double.
it's like
Right. Everyone
people
thinks you're
don't
rich.
realize like, oh, you made it. No, you made bills. That's what you
Right.
made.
Right. Okay, so part of the reason that this podcast is called Friends and Family is because so often you hear when you're starting a business that everyone should raise money from their friends and family. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the issue in the Black community is that we don't have generational wealth in the same way that, we can raise a friends and family round. I at least was never able to do that at Brother Valley's. And, there's a stat that came out the other day that average like white person starts a new business with over $100,000 and Black people, it's like 30,000 or something, which still seemed high to me. But
Yeah.
how have you funded your business? How do you think about that part of it? Has it been easy? Has it been hard? I've talked a lot about some of the pitfalls that happened with me and Brother Vellies. And I think to your point, like people just gatekeep a lot of information. And I think part of the goal in talking to entrepreneurs is just like, how the hell did you figure it out?
Wow. This is a loaded question. So I have a business partner.
Mm-hmm.
So my business partner kind of joined with me and we launched the collection.
Mm-hmm.
But it was surely, I brought the talent, she funded it.
Mm.
Um, but it wasn't like, oh, we got to.
Was this someone you've known for a long time?
She was a friend of a friend, and
Mm.
she saw what I was doing, and
And
she's
she
like,
loved fashion.
not necessarily. She just saw me and saw what I was doing. I made her daughter's sixth grade graduation dress,
Cute.
and she was like, I think he can be something. These are things that she said. I've heard her say in interviews.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, she was like, okay, I live in Los Angeles. We can, I moved out here. I stayed with her.
Oh, wow.
So it was very much, we started it kind of like that. But we definitely didn't have like money. It
Mm-hmm.
was like, a fund to
Mm-hmm.
pull from. It was
Mm-hmm.
just like whatever came up, like, okay.
But to be clear, it was like less than $1 million.
Oh,
No,
girl,
because
like
look, I've had all manner of people on this
$1 million?
podcast who are like, yeah, and then I had a little bit of money, and I'm like, define little, and they're like $3 million. No, seriously. No, seriously. So it's like you just don't know. You have to
Yeah,
ask.
I think it was definitely not $1 million.
Was it less than $100,000?
It was. This is the thing. It wasn't money. It was like,
It was like
okay,
sleep on my couch.
it was like here, and then it's like, okay, we need to pay for this. I'm gonna pay for it. So I
Right,
can't
so it was no
quantify it.
initial
Yeah,
thing.
no.
It was just like, okay, this
You
bill
doing
is
it
here.
out of your
Right.
pocket.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So of
She was
course,
just down
yeah, she was down to
within
build,
her means.
yeah, she
Yes.
built the business with me.
Mhm.
It was never like, okay, I have this much money.
Right. Let's
That-
make
that
a
never
business
happened
plan
for
of
me.
how we're going to spend this.
No,
Yes,
it
yes.
absolutely
Right,
did. It was like, how much it cost us to get a couple sewing machines? Okay, I'm gonna come up with that.
right.
Okay, how much is the fabric? Oh, I'm gonna come up with that. That's how it was. That's
Mhm.
how, to me, that's how Black people start businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I know a lot of business owners in my family that's how they started a business. None of them went to the bank and got a loan. None of them
No.
like went to family members and were like, "Can I get $50,000? Can I get $100,000?" It just don't work like that
Well, I
for
think
us.
people don't even like know
Nobody.
that they're like, you don't know that you can even, I mean, the thought never even
No, it's not a
crossed
thought.
my mind. I wasn't like,
It's
oh yeah, I'm gonna like go into Citibank and like actually
yeah,
show them my purchase order from somewhere and like get a loan. Like it just like didn't cross my mind at the time.
yeah. It's like you got a little money
Mm.
from a paycheck, go buy some fabric, go
Right.
get a sewing machine when you can, make the first samples.
Mm.
Like that's kind of how it works. And it's hard, and I hate to keep speaking of fashion, but that's the business I'm in. But this business is so expensive. Like
Yeah, it is very expensive.
I've heard from other people when I break it down to them what fashion is, and I think the easiest way I explain it to people is you start a cosmetic business and you have a skin moisturizer. That's the one product you start with. That's one SKU.
Mm-hmm.
Every 6 months, I have over 100 SKUs that come out.
Mm-hmm.
Every single 6 months. And not just 100 SKUs, 100 SKUs times seven, because I do seven sizes. So
Mm-hmm.
that's seven SKUs of 100. So
Mm-hmm.
700 SKUs every 6 months, which is 1,400 SKUs every
Year.
year.
Mm-hmm.
And not, I'm not even talking about resort and pre
Mm-hmm.
fall. That's different. So that's probably another. So we talking maybe 2,000 SKUs a year.
Mm-hmm.
You're working one SKU for your entire business span, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm working 2,000 a year
Okay, so why are you doing this?
because I want to be Johnny Versace. Did you forget that
Is it
part?
working?
No, it works. I mean, I'm not poor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not where I, of course, where I'm like flying on a private jet or like doing
Mm-hmm.
anything like that.
But you're
But I'm
comfortable.
happy. I
Right.
love what I do.
Right.
It's a
And
hard business, but I love what I do. That's how, I mean, when I get up in the morning and I'm on a call with a factory or I'm designing something or, now a creative direct for people, um, and I'm being creative in my everyday life,
mm-hmm.
I'm happy,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and in my career.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I can't say for most of the people I know. So even when I am unhappy, it's not me being unhappy with what I do, it's me being unhappy because of the circumstances of the industry I work in. But
Right.
the actual work is rewarding. And when a woman puts on a Sergio Hudson suit and it kind of, they whole posture changes, that's the most rewarding thing to me. And I think because I grew up a pastor's child and just a different type of pastor, because my mom was a pastor. Um,
I missed that part.
yeah, well, that happened later, like
Okay,
when I
okay.
was early teens. But and I think that's why I like to help people so much because any given time it would be like 10 people staying in our house.
Oh wow.
Because if a family member, lost their home or didn't have whatever, they can't stay with us. They knew you go to their house, like,
Mm-hmm.
and she's gonna let you stay with them. And so that's how I grew up. And like my mom actually helps people and like went and pulled prostitutes off the street and people out of crack houses and brought them into the church and like
Mm-hmm.
gave them careers. So I just kind of like that's how I grew up, and that's what I like to see women. It's a small thing to some people,
Mm-hmm.
but to see when a woman puts on your clothes and it changes their whole like how they feel about herself, or a woman that's a size 16 never thought she could wear a luxury fashion piece and
Mm-hmm.
I make her a suit
Mm-hmm.
and she feels, something that she never felt before. That's very rewarding to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's like frivolous to other people, but clothing can really change your whole perspective of who you are in that moment. Like, just think about when you put on your favorite outfit and you've been to this event. You might not have felt like going to that event, but when you looked in the mirror that night and you looked fabulous, you kind of forgot about I didn't really want to go to this or I was tired.
No, totally. We were on the weekend. I was at a dinner party and we were all listing like the 5 things that we just like love in life. And one of mine was like when I'm going to an event that I'm really excited about, but I'm extremely excited about what I'm going to wear. And I know that I'm going to be super comfortable in that look. Like there's something coming up the Gordon Parks Gala, actually, which is like really far away from now. But I know exactly what I'm wearing. I'm so excited about what I'm wearing. Like, all I want to do is go to that event, and that makes me feel so good. Is there any celebrity that comes to mind really quickly that's like really changed your business?
Michelle Obama.
Casual.
Like, I will say, without Meredith Coupe,
Oh, yeah.
and that's her stylist,
Mm-hmm.
and Michelle Obama, I would definitely, unequivocally not have the success that I have, for sure. No questions asked. My business on January 19th, 2021, and January 21st, 2021,
Uh-huh.
is completely different.
So this
On the
was
20th was the inauguration of Joe
the
Biden.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And when Michelle Obama walked out on that stage
Purple.
in my outfit,
Yes.
my complete business changed overnight.
I remember this
It was
actually.
like overnight, like
Right.
literally.
She looked amazing.
Yeah, and it was the most unintentional thing ever.
Tell me more.
So
Like, how did that even? You've known Meredith for a long time.
yeah, so Meredith that year was kind of crazy. It was all because of Instagram.
Mm.
I saw she started following me.
People don't realize that you can like write stylists on Instagram and they'll actually look at it.
Absolutely.
Or when you like tell someone that you hate them and you want them to die. Like, I read that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
These are human beings. They're real people.
Mm-hmm.
And so she started following me, and I saw it immediately. I was like, oh, that's Meredith Coupe. Because I was like, the whole time when Barack Obama was president, I was like, who's styling her? You never could really find out.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually it started like creeping out in like cryptic articles.
Mm-hmm.
I never forgot her name. So when I saw that, and once he wasn't president anymore, it was like public. So I never forgot the name. And I saw her name. I DM'd her immediately. I was like, oh my God, I love your work. I would love to dress Mrs. Obama.
Mm-hmm.
And she said like the most fabulous word ever. The word that you said, I say too much. She said, yes.
Mm.
And like that next month, she was doing an L cover, and I made all these clothes for her. They didn't work. She said, okay, these didn't work, but she's about to go on book tour. So I want you to make something for the
Becoming.
book tour. Yes, for the book tour. So the first time I dressed her was for the Atlanta stop on her book tour. It was like a plum color suit with one of my big signature belts. And what I loved about Meredith was she looked at my collection and she was like, I really like your work. So she picked something from my collection and said, can you make it in another color? She didn't even give me a color. She was like, do another color. I don't want her to wear the color from the collection. So I made it in that beautiful plum color. They loved it. She wore it. That was the first time. Then the second time was a month later she went to Essence Festival. And it was like the last like unofficial stop on the book tour. She wore this sequin jumpsuit that was inspired by a beaded gown that I did in the collection with the belt again. And then when that was during the time when they would start, I think Kamala Harris was running for president still. And I was already working. Well, now it's public knowledge, but at the time, Carla Welsh was dressing her. But it was a secret then. And then, so me and Carla were like working because that's how we were like helping the campaign. Like I was dressing her, Carla was styling her. And by the way, Carla's like an amazing human being. Like,
yeah, Carla's always been
people
like a huge
like knew
of
like
yours.
she was doing that to like help her.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like, oh, this is a job for me. And so we were together doing that. And then when she became the vice presidential nominee, I started dressing her even more. But I didn't publicize. Like we were just dressing her so she would have clothes to wear, you know. And then I was supposed to dress her. This is like a secret.
Okay.
I was supposed to dress her for the morning of inauguration, Kamala Harris.
Mm.
That was like loosely promised to me.
Mhm.
Like, because I had been working so hard on the campaign, like, okay, this
Mhm.
is a moment, like, we're going to, when the inauguration comes, we're going to do that.
Mhm.
So, long story short, they were like, okay, you can't do that anymore.
Mhm.
Somebody else is going to do that. And then they were like, we'll give you the ball. And I was like, okay, that's cute. You know, I'll make the evening look for the ball or whatever. And then the insurrection happened. They canceled the ball. And so
Mm.
my look had to go from being an evening gown to a cocktail dress so she could do a dress at the Lincoln Memorial. So that was a big letdown moment for me.
Mhm.
Like, I was very disappointed.
Mhm.
I was over it.
Did you cry?
I did.
Mhm.
Honestly, I did, because, and it wasn't that I thought it was a moment for me, but, you know, being a father of two black daughters, and
Mhm.
like, to me, this woman changing history was just like such a moment. To be a part of it was just so, like, I could tell my daughters, oh God, I don't
But
want to say,
she still wore it.
she did, but it's, in my head, I was like, this is the moment I see. I wanted the day. Like, I'm just being honest with you.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
wanted, because that's the first time everybody was going to see her as
Right.
the vice president. So I was disappointed. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, yeah.
Very disappointed.
Yeah.
Didn't know who was gonna dress her. Didn't care because it
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
me. So I was mad.
Uh-huh.
And so long story short,
Who was it? I don't even remember.
Chris dressed her
Oh,
for the
okay.
morning,
Okay.
which was a great surprise.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good.
Um, so then we Meredith called me like October, November, and she was like, "Do you want to dress?" Well, she calls her Michelle. I don't. She said, "You want to dress Michelle
Mhm.
for inauguration?" I was like, "Oh, cool. Yeah, of course." She was like, "Yeah, it's just low key. You know, they're just going to support." I was like, "Okay." So she picked a look from the collection.
Mhm.
We turned. She said, "But she's not the first lady anymore. It's not about her. She can just wear pants. Like,
Mhm.
she won't have to be cold. None of that." So we took a dress, made it into a sweater, added pants, and dropped the coat to the floor. It was a look from the runway. And then I forgot about it. Once we made it, it was done. I'm
Mhm.
like, okay. So the day of inauguration, I'm in DC. My husband now, he was living in DC. We were dating at the time.
Mhm.
I was there visiting him,
Is he
and
in politics? Okay, go
that's a
on.
whole
Uh-huh.
nother
Uh-huh.
story,
Yeah, uh-huh.
of course.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
and so I was there fitting the vice president for that evening look.
Mhm.
And so I was leaving to go to Atlanta to do a photo shoot that during the inauguration. I got the call from my business partner. She said, Meredith says she's wearing it, get to a TV. So I'm walking into the airport in Philadelphia. I go into the American Airlines lounge. And just as she's like she's walking through the hallway, her and Barack were walking up the hall to walk down the stairs. I saw her. And when they opened the door for her to walk down, all the people in the lounge were like crowded around TV. They were like, like everybody like gasped. And
Mm.
in that moment, I swear this sound like a movie or something. In
Mhm.
that moment, I knew everything had changed. Like
Mm.
in my head, I was like, okay, this is different. Like I knew it. I was like, this is the moment
I just
I've
got
been waiting
chills.
for. Like,
Mhm.
and it was the most unexpected time. Like we planned so many moments that never turned into moments. And that was the moment that changed everything for me. Like everything changed. Before I left that airport that day, my website had shut down.
Mm.
Before I called, we were selling such low numbers at that time that I had the website set on infinite. Because, you know, we could just make whatever we needed. And
Oh, inventory levels. So you
yes,
were like, I have an infinite amount of
by the
belts.
time I caught it, we had sold 1,000 belts that I did not have.
How much were the belts each?
They were like, I don't know how much they were at the time, two something. Yeah. So
It's a
overnight,
good day on Shopify.
yeah, okay. It got shut down that day.
Uh-huh.
And you know, it's been different ever since. I went from begging to get meeting with retailers.
Mm-hmm.
That next Monday, I had a meeting with every fashion director for every luxury store by Monday.
Wow.
That was crazy. I'm like sitting on the phone with Linda Fargo
Right.
overnight. I'm just like,
Wow. Okay.
I'm like trying to get to the third assistant, and
So is Michelle Obama like the ultimate influencer then? Is that what you're
I
telling
think
me?
so.
Maybe that's who we want. Okay, so your biggest sales drivers as people that you've dressed, Michelle Obama, who else?
Jennifer Lopez.
Oh, J Lo. J Lo. Okay, who
Yeah.
else?
Hmm. Let me think. Those are the two that jump to my head. But see, I would say this to explain this to people.
Mm-hmm.
That is not normal,
Yeah, it's not normal.
and it does not happen all the time.
It almost never
It
happens.
almost never happened. It was like the perfect time, the perfect person, the perfect event. Because I wasn't thinking like, okay, this is inauguration of Joe Biden after a crazy 4 years. Everybody was extremely happy. So everybody was watching all over the world.
Right.
And she walked out.
And we just remember Michelle was so fun,
Yeah.
like, you know.
And everybody loves Michelle Obama. And when she walked out, it wasn't like, and I say this too, it wasn't my clothes that sold that outfit.
Mm-hmm.
She felt amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It was that feeling I told you that I see in women when they put on my clothes sometimes. It's not the clothes, it's what the clothes brings out. Like if you look at her, like she knew she felt like that outfit was boss. Like she was like, I feel good, I'm comfortable. Y'all cold. I got on long johns under these pants while all y'all got on skirts. Cause you supposed to wear skirts, which I didn't know. Like that was kind of,
Who knew?
you're not supposed to wear pants to inauguration if you're a woman. And she was like, I'm comfortable, I look good, I feel good. And you could, that's what she was giving when she walked out. And it really sold those clothes. I feel like being a successful designer, and I was discussing this with Kiki once, and I was like, I feel like being a successful designer is like being successful in Hollywood.
Mm.
It's like it may happen for you if all the cards
Lined
align.
up.
And talent has not a whole lot to do with it. It's alignment.
Mm.
Some talent can help you get alignment, but it's not all about talent. It's about how you align yourself and how the stars fall and how you, like that Michelle Obama moment.
Right.
That could have not, one little thing that I did could have made that not happen. Because you know what Meredith told me? She was like, all right, she asked me, I didn't finish the story. She asked me the night before, are you dressing the vice president for tomorrow?
Mm.
And I said, no, I was supposed to, but I'm not. She said, okay, good, because I wasn't going to put her in you if you address her because she want her to have her moment.
Own moment, yeah.
And I was like, after that, when I remembered her saying that to me, I was like, oh my God. Like, I was fighting for a moment that was never meant for me.
Meant for you. Yes.
Like, I could have lost that moment fighting for something that belonged to somebody else.
Yes, you have to realize that what's meant for you will be for you.
Absolutely.
And when you try to force things that aren't, it's only going to lead to heartache. Let me ask you a question. What would big Sergio tell little Sergio about how it all works out?
Wow. Big Sergio. Well, I've never been little Sergio, but I would tell him to prepare yourself and be ready for the fight that's ahead. But in the end, if you fight hard enough, you'll receive what you're praying for. Absolutely.
Sergio, thank you for coming over to my mansion.
Thank you for having me.
Don't get lost on your way out.
Okay.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Our smoothies got sent to the wrong people's houses.
Maybe you want it now?
I'm okay. Are you thirsty?
Yes, I'll take it.
We just want to see the first free ad.
This is the classic Hailey Bieber.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Do you like it?
I love it.
Right. See, they don't have that in New York.
No.
That's why we're in LA, baby.
This is